I don't. All right, y'all. We're back with the Boris City reactions. This one's a 30-minuter. Go ahead. Go in your bed. Go ahead. It's fine. It's fine. Go ahead. This is titled BTS and K-pop without the K. Quote unquote. You said a lot of okay. Hey, shout out to you, Dave. Say thank you for saying hello to YouTube. You know definitely this video be on YouTube. Y'all already know. Let's do it. Oh. Come on, unmute. Oh shit. What the fuck? Oh, sorry, forgot I was on PC.
New York Times podcast released an episode titled Jungkook, BTS, and English language K-pop. In the first few seconds of this episode, the podcast host shows how much knowledge he has on the subject by referring to Jungkook as if Jung were his first name and Kook his last name. This really puts some things into perspective.
You're listening to, is it the biggest pop star in America or the world? It's tough to know sometimes where boundaries should be set or are being set. That was Seven by Jungkook and Lotto. Jungkook, as I'm sure you know, is a member of BTS.
But don't worry,
Who is
it's apparent.
Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Why are you humping? Okay. Ooh, who is this? I remember his voice. This is a Big Bang stint.
Apparently clueless man will actually have the most logical takes because his guest is a very professional addition to the podcast, an anonymous and very small K-pop blogger who also seems to dislike everything related to BTS and their success.
Oh,
and
God.
I say seems to dislike because I don't want any problems, but by the things this person says, I would say that they are an outright full-blown BTS hater. But you be the judge of that.
No last name because the stands are crazy. And anybody who listens to podcasts knows about the ongoing struggles.
Bro, who the fuck is this? I'm trying to think of his name. He sounds mad familiar, bro.
Between people who try to think critically about pop music in a variety of fields and people who tweet.
Just a reminder that this is the New York Times amplifying the voice of an anonymous, self-proclaimed K-pop expert and a constant denier of BTS's success just because. Very professional of them. Now, I'm going to clip parts of the podcast because the full episode is kind of long, full of broken sentences, and not everything is relevant. But you will be able to see every time I jump sections. And I will be linking the full episode in the description so you can check that I'm not taking anything out of context. So before talking about BTS, they talk about the first K-pop attempts to enter the American music industry.
Go back to what feels like something that was like 100 eons ago, which is Big Bang 21. Like that era of K-pop groups really starting to make inroads in America. My recollection, going to those shows, listening to those albums, is these are musicians, producers, songwriters who were making an incredible maximalist version of pop music, taking it, amplifying it, piecing together in unexpected juxtapositions.
I don't know if you remember, Rain appeared on the Colbert Report. You had the Wonder Girls coming through. Korea is a very small country, and they had already spread at this point in the mid 2000s to Japan, which is a massive music market right next door. The next step was this attempt to crack the American market, and they did it in a variety of different ways. So the JYP groups, which is the Wonder Girls, Rain, it feels almost like they tried to make something American sounding, but it didn't really connect, I think. But these other groups, Big Bang and 21, they did moderate what they were doing a little bit, but it wasn't an attempt to appeal to America or to the West. It's more just an attempt to go big, to go global, and just be the biggest group on earth. There are definitely some concessions. There is some use of English in a lot of these songs, or nonsense words is another one.
Post language.
I mean, ring ding dong is ring ding dong no matter what language you speak. K-pop in Korea, in Japan, is part of something called idol culture. And idol culture can be very, I don't know, what do the kids say? They can be very extra, very over the top. It has a certain aesthetic that may not appeal to those of us in America.
This is the main point that the host and the guest will agree on in this entire episode. K-pop is maximalist.
Yes.
Extra.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Wait a minute. Okay, I just want to say this thing. I used to be like, my aesthetic used to be very minimalist until I started listening to K-pop. It's not Teddy Swims. I'm trying to think whose name it is, but it's not Teddy Swims, or I don't know who Benson Boone is, but I've come to the realization that I think listening to K-pop has turned me into a maximalist person. I used to be very minimalist, but now I just like a bunch of shit. like a bunch of stuff because it just makes it. I don't know why. I just came to this realization too.
Some would even say meaningless. These are the most important factors of what makes K-pop K-pop. If you take out the craziness, you just have pop. Rain and Wonder Girls try to enter the American market with normal pop, but Big Bang and 21 try to enter with K-pop. Big Bang and 21 did not want to appeal to the West, but the Rain and Wonder Girls did. More than that, the guest seems to imply that Big Bang and 21's K-pop sound connected with a Western audience.
I kind of find it kind of funny. I find it kind of funny how the JYP groups wanted to appeal to the West, and YG was like, "Fuck that." John, I don't even know who that is.
While Rain and Wonder Girls' pop sound couldn't. This starts to show some of the biases of the guest. K-pop is YG Entertainment. K-pop is Big Bang. Because as much as she attributes Big Bang as a group who did not try to appeal to a Western audience by sticking to their typical K-pop sound, she can't help but recommend another Big Bang song as one K-pop song that can appeal to a quote-unquote normal music listener.
Is there a song from that era that is emblematic of a song that kind of nodded to an American sensibility, even as it held tight to the kind of framework of what was working in K-pop?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is Big Bang's with the video shot on the street in, I think it's Brooklyn, the diverse models that are with them, and just, it was so cool. Like, it was just so effortlessly cool. It was the kind of thing that could appeal to a normal music listener. The boy groups also have. They can have a very specific look that's just not appealing to an American palate, but something like they look cool. The diverse women that were in the video, it was set in Brooklyn, and it just sounded like a good pop song.
So for the guest, when Wonder Girls and Rain released Western pop music, it didn't really connect with the audience. But when Big Bang did the same, it was cool and it sounded like a good pop song. This is especially laughable because this Big Bang song did not have the same impact as Wonder Girls' Western pop songs. This is not a good example of an emblematic song, but that doesn't matter. Whatever Big Bang releases with no success in the West, good. Whatever Wonder Girls releases with actual success in the West, bad.
Wow.
She will have the same judgment for BTS's English songs. When they do it, it's every negative adjective you can think of. But when Big Bang does it, she celebrates it. Actually, she will bring Big Bang out of nowhere multiple times.
Oh shit.
Fashion is huge. With G-Dragon especially, Top from Big Bang also has a lot of connections in the art world. He's very respected. And it wasn't like going back to Big Bang where you had G-Dragon. I don't think we're off base. Because even going back, we were talking about Big Bang.
Her attempts of overestimating Big Bang's impact in the West and cleaning their criminal image goes beyond this podcast. Today may not be the best time to ignore their criminal charges and sex crime scandals, but that's exactly what she will do on her articles celebrating Big Bang in the big year of 2024. But whatever, let's jump to the section where they talk about BTS.
Their whole career, BTS from the very beginning, they're kind of a chameleon group. And then 2017, 2018, where they were morphing into a group aimed more at an American
All right, bro. Okay.
boy band audience, and I think the way that they were received in America was as a
chameleon
boy band. I think
group.
of it as their One Direction era because they're using some of these same
group.
songwriters.
What the
It's
fuck?
the Jonas Brothers.
What?
It's that era of boy band.
This is an interesting point. The guest refers to BTS's entrance on the Western music industry as the boy band era and compares them to One Direction and the Jonas Brothers. But when she's asked to name one song that represents their One Direction era, she names Mic Drop, a song that One Direction and the Jonas Brothers would never release.
Do you feel like is Mic Drop the song where you think the pivot hits? Is it Fake Love, the song where the pivot hits?
For me, I think it was Mic Drop because they got on Steve Aoki. Just to my ears, I didn't really understand why they had this big touted collab with a guy I'd never heard of before. I don't follow EDM. So it's a little bit awkward too. The song's a little awkward and it's still in that awkward BTS era. It definitely
What
did
are you
have that
talking
sense
about?
of, yeah, we're going to get some names that Americans will know. And it wasn't like going back to Big Bang where you had G-Dragon with Missy Elliott or you had Diplo actually reaching out to work with GD and T.O.P. And
What?
that's just had a very different feel to it.
What the fuck is happening here? I'm over here trying to learn shit and just try to like, what the fuck is going on, man?
Once again, the hypothesis. BTS's Western collaborations are
What?
a little awkward. The songs are awkward.
That's not awkward. That's not awkward. Like, what? I mean, I'm not about to like, you know, just start shitting on Shiny, but that that first little baby, that shit's not awkward. Like what? You don't just come on a song like that and the shit just be fine. Like it will make you listen. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like maybe I don't know what awkward means. I don't fucking know. Like what is
This
happening?
era is awkward, but Big Bang doing the same thing just had a very different feel to it. Jabin points out that Diplo actually reached out to Big Bang. So, cute Western artists also reach out to BTS.
She said so.
Yes, sometimes the BTS members accept, and sometimes they don't.
I
Yet
like
you
Ring
would
Ding Dong
still call
too.
BTS's Western collaborations not organic. How is choosing who they want to collaborate with not organic? She wants to paint a picture, in my opinion, a picture in which Big Bang is desired by the Western industry, while BTS tries too hard. In reality, the Western music industry never wanted Big Bang, BTS, or anyone from K-pop. Despite
Exactly.
this, BTS were the only ones who really entered, stayed, and remained successful in the Western music industry. This is a hard pill to swallow for the common K-pop fan, but it's the truth. The masses
Y'all see how they just zoomed in on Tay?
made the quote-unquote awkward ones stay in the industry, while they rejected Big Bang's most important attempts. Just look at the title of the podcast: Jungkook, BTS, and the others. But the host will ignore these crazy assumptions by the guest because he's excited to tell his experience of spending a night in a studio with K-pop singer CL.
I once spent the night in the studio with Diplo and CL. First story that ever came out. So really wild, really strange night. We went to the studio, then we went to an Usher concert. I can't remember. They went back to the studio. That story. That's something more. Shout out CL, shout out Diplo. Great night. So yes, I agree. There's an awkwardness to it.
But like I said before, the host will be the one giving a tiny bit of sense to some crazy statements by the guest. He will give the benefit of the doubt
Welcome
to
back,
BTS
Kaden.
collaborating with international artists.
I think there's still some like uncertainty amongst American musicians and like, what is this? Like, can I get on these records? Like, does it make sense for me to? In the same way that like Justin Bieber getting on Despacito didn't seem obvious until it seemed like the most obvious thing in the world. I think that was still a moment before everybody understood, oh, we can collaborate with anyone. That's actually a positive.
But the guest will deviate the conversation
Oh, what?
back to BTS are sellouts, they're just a boy band, and because they're just a boy band, they will break up like every other Western boy band. It seems
Bro,
like she
what?
really wants this to happen, you guys.
There was
Talking.
still, I think, just a confusion over what K-pop was, because all of that stuff that had happened around Gangnam Style, and then to be faced with these guys making a song that all of a sudden, who are all these girls screaming in the audience of like the Billboard Music Awards? Oh, this is K-pop? These guys dancing on stage? Oh, they're a boy band, like New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys going, hey, BTS. They're like, oh, we get you. But there are also dangers to that approach, because the boy band in America, you have a limited shelf life. These K-pop bands can continue for many years past kind of what we would consider a sell-by date, but you slot yourself into that boy band slot. It's a hard road.
The host seems to disagree that this BTS era is just a boy band era. He points out BTS
Well, if this is a boy band era, yeah, I know they renewed their contract. That's what I'm saying. Like, if this is a boy band era, this is the longest boy band era I've ever seen in my life. Because, like, bro, just let's see. I mean, shit. I should just start a podcast if niggas just going to just say whatever the fuck they want to say.
BTS's variety of artistic directions.
BTS in this time period, there's these more tentative outreaches in
2018
both
to
directions.
2020.
I think that the way that they play with hip hop is important. Obviously, they're not alone in that, and I think gets them a little bit of maybe extra attention in America.
The host's problem with BTS starts in 2021.
To me, the breaking point is butter. I listen to this and I think, where did BTS go? Like, where did they go? Who has them? Where are they trapped? Who's doing this? Why are we doing this? It felt incredibly craven. It's a business decision masquerading.
The fuck does Craven mean? Craven? The fuck does that mean? Craven. What the fuck? Lacking the least bit of courage. Craven. What? Contempt. What? Cowardly? Huh? What, bro? Man, yeah. Oh.
And it is, in fact, a #1 pop hit.
This is my biggest problem with K-pop and music journalists reporting on BTS. They treat them like K-pop when BTS were always different from K-pop. Where did BTS go? They are just expanding, which you would know they've done forever if you actually listen to their entire discography. But you only listen to their mainstream songs and try to connect them to K-pop because it's how you perceive them, not who they really are. The truth is that BTS were always too different from the regular weird, quirky, careless K-pop you love so much. Where did BTS go? They are doing what they were doing from day one, expanding their genres. This is nothing new, but the increased popularity of their variety of sounds is a problem for K-pop fans because it shows how one-dimensional K-pop sound is. BTS is not one-dimensional. They will give you bubblegum pop, hardcore rap, powerful ballads, sentimental R&B songs, and now they will give you mainstream pop. If you don't like it, listen to their other new songs. I'm not even saying to go back to their old discography because they are still releasing and promoting the songs you like today. Don't just ignore them to create the narrative that they've changed. They just expanded like they've always done.
And this is the beginning of 3 #1 US Billboard Hot 100 #1s for BTS. Sputter, Permission to Dance, and My Universe with Coldplay. I mean, I'll take Steve Aoki and Designer over Coldplay for what it's worth.
First, let's stop crying about BTS's number
You take
ones. If
what?
you truly are
What are you talking about? What's wrong with Coldplay? Hey, bro, yo, this nigga finna fry me. I don't even listen to much Coldplay, but I know that one song, Viva La Vida. That is a beautiful song. Like, that is an amazing song, bro. I mean, judging BTS off of like Butter, Dynamite, and PTD is actually crazy. But then again, I realized that people really don't care to like look deep into things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't.
Music expert, you would know why these songs are mainstream and successful. They appeal to the masses. So why does it seem like you don't want BTS to be celebrated this specific way? Why do you criticize them for not staying in the K-pop bubble you created in your head? Why do you deny them the path American artists constantly choose? Why do they have to stay in their lane? I'm not saying that this is exactly what you're saying because you're not, but these are the conversations you open by making these statements. And that is where this podcast conversation is going to go in a few minutes.
Oh, God.
You are reinforcing a narrative that is simply not true. You can totally criticize this specific genre of pop songs, but don't pretend that this is the one and only sound BTS
what
has
the
now.
fuck?
We're in 2021 at this point. BTS is undeniable in terms of scale. Why, at that moment, is this the aesthetic direction that this group went?
Maybe because they just fucking wanted to. I mean, maybe because they wanted to. Like, they were trying to do something and they just experiment. Like, what?
Again, this is not their one and only new aesthetic direction. You can criticize this genre of songs if you want, but starting the conversation with this premise is wrong. For example, in 2019, BTS opened their discography to one type of sound that is not my favorite. This genre is one very specific kind of R&B with synthesizers and some type of electronic.
I love me
feel.
some synths.
This style is very popular. So I remember BTS getting praise, success, and a bunch of new fans because of their biggest song on this genre. I saw BTS release, perform, and promote this song, and then I saw them release collaborations with artists part of this genre. And although this is probably my least favorite genre ever, I'm not going to call BTS craven or
is
this song
nuts.
a simple business decision because I know this is not the case. They are just expanding like they've always done. I don't like this specific genre, so I listen to their other songs. Whether they are old or new, I know BTS always has something for me.
Yeah, I say they say this shit about BTS, but they, you know what? But you just let that nigga Drake just do whatever the fuck he wants, huh? Niggas can't just try to make some English songs, right? But we can get Drake to do a fucking dance hall song, house album, goddamn. Whatever, bro. Get the fuck out of
One
here.
song is not going to change my perception because I know this is just one part of their artistry. The premise
Bada
that Butter
bing,
is
bada
their new
boom.
aesthetic direction is flawed because after this song, they kept releasing and promoting other genres in Korean to other audiences. This entire conversation is pointless. But let's keep listening.
Unlike some of these other groups that we talked about, they were coming from big hit, but then it became Hype. And Hype was really looking to grow very fast. And so a lot of these decisions stem from, in my opinion, a desire to raise a lot of money.
So basically, to raise the valuation of the company,
This is the
Oh, you mean what all companies do? Huh.
most uninformed take I've heard from these two. If you know BTS like you claim you do, you would know that they had to go to the military around the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. You can see that was their plan because their performances at the end of 2019 were some kind of see you later, since these were supposed to be their last year-end performances in years. That means that Dynamite, Butter, Permission to Dance,
Were not
and
supposed to
Universe
happen.
were not supposed to happen. They spontaneously happened because they received an exclusive exemption from the South Korean government for their contributions to the country. Not only that, but if HYBE only wanted to make money out of BTS during this time, they wouldn't have wasted their time by releasing a Korean album. They would have released an English album. The guest destroys her own theory as the conversation continues.
HYBE had tried another boy band, TXT, that they had tried to soft launch as BTS's little brothers.
Soft launch? Soft launch. TXT was a soft launch. TXT was a soft launch? I remember when I first started looking at TXT songs and I was looking at the views. That shit did not look like a fucking soft. What is happening? What is going on here?
In, I think it's 2019, but it didn't really take off. And something with these K-pop companies is that the fans, as older groups slow down, fans move on, they adopt a younger group. And this did not happen with Tomorrow by Together. The BTS fans, they just stayed BTS
Nigga,
fans.
what are
They
you
were
talking
very
about?
uncommon.
What are
So
y'all
if
talking
BTS's
about?
massive audience never adopted a younger group and actually kept making BTS grow even more, why would BTS release English songs with the sole purpose of making more money for the company? There was not any loss. There was actually growth with their Korean songs. I remember when TXT were promoted as BTS's little brothers, but I don't think the label ever thought of them as replacement for BTS because BTS was achieving unbelievable things in the West. This is not your favorite K-pop group from 2010, and it's impossible for their label to not notice this. But let's pretend for a second that they didn't notice.
Okay.
Let's assume TXT was made to replace BTS and they failed. Let's hear you out.
Sorry, TXT.
Basically, they were a one-trick pony, and they had to ride that pony until that pony could not go any further. And so really what you see there is a reaction to a lot of different factors, including the pandemic. They had this massive 2020 world tour scheduled that they had to cancel. They didn't have necessarily the resources to refund all that ticket money right away. My impression anyway was with these songs, they needed the cash, and this was one way to do it.
So let's assume HYBE desperately needed the money in 2020.
God.
Let's pretend BTS are puppets and they did their English songs for money for the
It's
label.
one trick
What
pony.
about now?
Yeah,
HYBE
alright, bro.
already refunded all the ticket money and even made more money with other concerts.
Yeah,
so why is
like-
BTS still releasing some music in English and sometimes not promoting these English songs in the West? This theory is so flawed. BTS adding one more language to their music is part of their growth. Period. If it was only because they needed the money at the time, they would have stopped because they don't desperately need the money anymore. And
She talking like HYBE is like YG. Like, what are we talking about now? Like, what are we doing now, bro? Like, come on, cuz.
if they keep doing it only to make money, then they would only make music in English or at least more music in English. But no, for the past 2 years, for every English song, there's 3 Korean songs. Actually, many of these songs in English are not promoted in the West because not all of them personally want that. It's almost as if the BTS members actually enjoy exploring new genres, sounds, and languages. These are just artistic choices, and reducing this to a monetary decision is an insult to BTS's diverse discography.
Yeah, you are right, Rachel. The Big Bang is from YG. Yeah, yeah. Because just because 2NE1, they replaced 2NE1 with Blackpink, and now they're trying to replace Blackpink with Baby Monster. Seeing a little pattern here, but you know, that don't mean HYBE is doing it. Like, what?
Maybe listening too much K-pop really does make you forget how artists outside of K-pop like BTS work and create music. So again, the host kind of disagrees with the guest's monetary theory, making the guest's opinion of BTS fully come out.
Plenty of great art over the years across disciplines has been made as the result of financial pressure. I am not of the camp that says that financial or
I'm gonna be honest. They talk about financial pressure, but we're acting like there's not videos of like. Say like, let's use JK for example, because I remember the videos and like, it's like recency bias for me when he literally went to these studios to record these songs with these producers. Like, he wasn't given the songs and he just recorded them in the Hype studio. Like, he actually like traveled to these places to record this shit. So it's like, I'm pretty sure he probably wanted to do this. You know, like, it didn't really seem like much of obligation. Like, or am I off or something? Like, what the fuck?
Logistical considerations can't create the circumstance for great art. However, that is not what I believe is happening here. So why not just make essentially neutral, generic pop, English language pop, by the most famous band in the world? And then, boy, it will end up at the top of the charts, and which is exactly what happened. That's how it feels to me. But again, doesn't that on some level damage the thing that BTS has been good at up until that point?
I would think so. I was in a small group of fans who we had liked BTS previous to a lot of this, and
Safe space. Safe space. Is it me too? It's fine. Like,
and
don't tweet us.
you know,
We're grown ups.
we had just drifted away because this was not anything I wanted to listen to. It didn't sound like the group that I had enjoyed. Even with BTS being that chameleon group, they were able to handle a bunch of different styles and, you know, do them well. But yeah, this one was just, it was a step too far for me anyway.
This is the classical story of the supposed
X-fan.
The typical K-pop fan who was okay with BTS being different from K-pop as long as they stay in the K-pop bubble. Her problem did not start with Butter. Her problem starts with Mic Drop, BTS's global domination. I don't believe these 3 songs were a step too far from you. These songs in the middle of 2 powerful Korean albums and 1 Japanese album, I don't believe you. You never liked
Always the leftovers. That's crazy.
BTS going mainstream, no matter their genre, no matter their language. This is my theory because I don't know this person. So these are just opinions that will be supported by the guest's later statements. BTS going mainstream is too much because you cannot fetishize them anymore. Although BTS never really went into the weird and crazy K-pop aesthetic, they were still singing in Korean and Japanese. And that is weird enough for you. My theory is that you're mad at BTS for being too successful in the West because now K-pop is not your little secret anymore. These songs are too much for you because they validate BTS's real presence in the West. These songs give them Grammy nominations, recognition by the American general public, and puts them right next to the biggest artists in the world.
That makes sense what she said. That's what makes sense what she said. Because there's a lot of I don't know if there's like an actual thing, but there's like a thing where fans of like an underground artist or underground group that may seem as like their comfort artist or something is when they get known by too many people, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to be on this no more because I'm different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just you are actually giving a fuck about the artist that you're listening to. You're just giving a fuck that it made you feel different. That's what it sounds like to me. That's honestly what it sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying? So, Bora, she hit the nail on the head with that one.
So what about K-pop? They are abandoned. Now you cannot even pretend BTS is part of that anymore.
I think if you take the devil's advocate position, Butter proves a point, which is that the biggest, most popular English language, in quote mark, music act, boy band, pop act, need not derive from America or from Europe. That group can come from anywhere. I think that's a valuable contribution to like how pop's globalization is understood. That said, it seems like a genuine aesthetic setback for this group in particular.
Despite the host's lack of acknowledgement about BTS's variety of music directions that continue to expand today, notice how he at least tries to value Jungkook's English album for what it is before the guest denies it.
Wow.
I think the Jungkook album is really instructive. When I first listened to it, I was like, it's so glossy, just like sealed up tight, no edges on it at all. And then after a couple listens, I was like, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's okay. And I sort of like warmed to it as a shiny artifact. And what does that tell you? That for Jungkook at this stage of his career, that is the direction that folks chose to go in.
To me, it sounds like listening to top 40 radio, like to an iHeart radio station, and getting a nice sample of everything that's in the charts right now. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Do you think it's good?
I don't think it's bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a very serviceable mainstream pop album.
Yeah. Again, I warmed to it as that.
Yeah, there's some good songs on there.
There's some good songs on there. There's some good songs on there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. It's just good songs. Okay.
What did I say? Your real problem is BTS being a mainstream act.
What the fuck are we
Some
talking
minutes
about?
before, you recommended and celebrated a Western-sounding big band song. But when Jungkook releases what you say are good mainstream pop songs, you are not a fan. You accept that the songs from Jungkook's English album are good. But you say it, what it sounds like holding back
Yeah,
tears.
like
Is
what,
K-pop
bro?
being stripped on some level of the
Like, what are we talking about, bro? Golden. I'm not going. See, don't make me start glazing golden again. Like, what are we? Like, come on, cuz. Come on, cuz. Like, come on, bro. Come on. Like, oh my goodness.
singular things that made it so fascinating. I would have been way more excited to hear whoever the next Justin Bieber is trying to make records that sound like K-pop records than hearing Jungkook trying to make records that sound like washed up Justin Timberlake records.
Some media
Washed up who? Washed up who? Just washed up records. Like this nigga ain't just have a whole like a Michael Jackson feel. But that's washed up. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. We just not talk about some real life good production. And it sounds like washed up records. See, now if I just go down this list, see, hold on, because no. Washed up records my ass. Like what, bro? Nothing in this shit sounds like washed up. Like, are we really? I want to know what he thinks are like good, just good songs. Like, I want to know what he thinks like his top 5 songs of all time are. Because what the fuck? Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about, bro? I don't. Whatever, bro. I don't. Come on,
Some
cuz.
media people reporting on international entertainment really need some kind of crash course on American privilege, English-speaking privilege, and how hard the path of foreign artists is in America. Because, wow,
I'm gonna
some
just
of
hold
these
my tongue.
expectations
It's not-
American
I
critics
don't need
have
to
for
start
foreign
tripping.
acts is so tone-deaf sometimes. And that's me being nice.
It's an attempt to make American music, but just by a Korean. There really is no K-pop in this album other than the fact that the audience listening to it is a K-pop audience. That's what makes it K-pop. It'll go in one ear and out the other. But yeah, I do agree that something is lost there because there is a sound to K-pop. I think previously
In one ear and out the other. In one ear and out the other. JK just performed in Times Square. JK performed for the World Cup. How in the fuck is this in one ear and out the other? Like, huh? What are we talking about? What the fuck are we talking about now? Like, come on.
there was always this real eclectic drive to just pick up pieces from
Like,
here and there and
what?
everywhere, use new sounds, use new and bigger and brighter colors and costuming, and just get the weirdest stuff that you can find and throw it on screen. And there are still acts doing that. I heard a song the other day that sounded like country music style, like guitars cycle through it. And yeah, it was great.
Come on.
We
Who's this?
finally agree
Who's
on
this?
something. Kind of. These guys would say that what BTS is doing now is not real K-pop. It's just K-pop by association. I say that BTS was never as connected to K-pop as they picture it in their minds.
Who
BTS
was that?
never got the weirdest stuff they could find and throw it on screen. BTS were always too thoughtful on their message.
Like,
They
that's
were
actually crazy. Like, she really just, like, they were talking about weirdest shit and just throwing it on screen. Like, Spring Day was just some weird shit. Like, the Love Yourself era was some weird shit. Like, the universe, the HYYH era was just some weird shit. Like they're that orange caramel song when they were like fish in like packaging. Blood, Sweat, and Tears era, Black Swan. Like, what the fuck are we talking about, dog? Like,
always
what?
too careful in their sound. BTS, as artists, would never release what was just played. With all due respect to the group, if this is your best example of real K-pop today, then I guess we agree. BTS is not K-pop. BTS is not this.
Here's the devil's advocate read. It's inherently meaningful that the most American pop album of this year was made by someone from South Korea, from a K-pop boy band. That's where I'm pulled in both directions. On some level, I think that's inherently valuable or interesting or thought-provoking. And I think would encourage non-K-pop listeners to think hard about the pop music that they consume and say, huh, that's fascinating. I'm getting this very similar product, but it's coming down a different pathway.
No,
It's
you're
not,
not.
though. That's the thing. Is
You're
all
not.
the writers, all the producers. It's an American album with a Korean face on it. If I was a listener that was like, "Oh, this is what a K-pop guy can do," it sounds just like Justin Timberlake. Why do you need a Korean guy doing Justin Timberlake when we have Justin Timberlake?
Yeah, Justin Timberlake made that fucking album. He was running in the woods. Like this isn't Cry Me a River Justin Timberlake. Like what are we talking about? What are we talking about? First off, so now it's just wrong to just pay homage to other artists just in a musicality sense. Like what? Like what?
Oh.
you know, I don't need to fly to Seoul to go see Trolls 3, right? It's here.
Damn.
It's just not funny.
Okay, ignoring the second-hand
Like, what,
embarrassment
bro?
I got from that little interaction, let's focus on what they said. The host tries to play devil's advocate and says that even if it's American pop, there's something inherently valuable when this comes from someone from South Korea. This never happens. This is something new. So this is still thought-provoking. But the K-pop fan says no. If she wanted American pop, she would listen to the American. Koreans should stick to K-pop because they will never be the real Justin Timberlake. Again, this is just my interpretation,
Yeah.
but it really sounds like
and the real Justin Timberlake is trying to act like Justin Timberlake in 03. Like, come on now. Like this thing. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
stay in your lane, don't try going mainstream in my country. Mainstream pop music is for Americans only.
We're having this conversation. Two Americans that care a lot about this particular kind of music. Are we trying to protect something that in Korea, amongst the core fan base, those fans are like, this is fine. I have no problem with this.
From what I understand, I don't think we're off base. I have heard a lot of complaints from fellow fans, not in America, fellow fans in Asia, that this just isn't what we're looking for. Ironically, I think you do find that what's popular in Korea right now, it's stuff like Akmu, one of the popular songs right now. Just a very sweet little ditty.
Exactly. Korea listens to calm songs by artists like Akmu, not to the You are the audience for that. The complaints of BTS's mainstream sound come from you, the American K-pop audience, wanting K-pop to be weird and nothing else. Korea never liked that. Korea likes thoughtful. Korea likes quote-unquote normal. Korea likes BTS, not K-pop.
K-pop without the K. It's interesting philosophically to think about what does that mean? Is that a geographic thing, a stylistic thing, a language thing? It's interesting to have been observing that industry for the last 10 plus years and see it be going through this kind of like tug of war about like, how do we grow? And maybe even should we? And I guess if you do want to hear a very shiny pop album of pop music made by a person who knows pop music, there, go listen to Golden Section.
I don't know why he's laughing here, but he's proving my point. Jungkook knows pop music.
Yeah.
He knows how to sing it. He knows how to perform it. Out of the 7 BTS members, he's the one who listens to it the most.
He's literally a student of music. Like, what has happened? Like, what? What the fuck, dog?
That's why his English album works, and that should not bother K-pop fans this much. I can say so many things about this podcast, but it all comes down to one thing. Many K-pop experts simply don't get BTS.
What makes an
maybe
expert?
because of lack of research, or maybe because of strong stereotypes and preconceived notions they create in their minds. Whatever the reason, I'm tired of these out-of-touch American K-pop critics calling successful Korean people all sorts of stuff because they dare to
Being a
become
Big
mainstream.
Bang
They dare
stan,
to attempt
bro. Like,
entering the
what,
Western music
fool?
market and succeed. How
The
dare they?
fuck?
They can sing in Japanese and try to target Japanese audiences if they want, but how dare they learn and sing in our language? Or I would say your language. Because
How dare they learn? How dare they learn? Apparently, the most popular or learned language in the world. That's what I was told growing up. Just like they teach English everywhere, but now they can't just sing songs in English because now it's America's language or the Western's language. Like, all right, bro. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
English is also my second language. But still, it was fun when they attempted and failed, but when they succeed, that's when they have a problem.
Exactly.
It's okay for Koreans to sing in
The
Japanese,
fuck?
even though they don't speak it. But English is too far. If this is not xenophobia, I don't
The
know what it is.
fuck?
But maybe, like this podcast suggested, K-pop does not need to go in this direction. We can have that conversation. Maybe K-pop should be okay with their weird songs, their nonsense lyrics, their K-pop audiences, and their 2 streams a month. But don't put the blame on BTS, who never followed the wishes of K-pop audiences. From day one, they were different. You admit that. So don't
Exactly.
cry when they continue the path they have always walked. Don't blame BTS when every other K-pop group abandons their old K-pop audience. Abandons you. It's not BTS's fault.
Exactly. Like, what are we like? That just, I don't know, bro. That kind of just gave me a headache. That gave me a headache. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even care to know whose name it is, but like, come on, cuz. What is this? What is this link right here? Whew. For the 6th consecutive year, BTS has been selected by the Brand Stars Selection Committee, Korea's best brands by industry, on the 2024 Korea Representative Brand in the entertainment category. At the end of the day, bro, whatever people be saying, it's like obviously BTS is here to stay, and they're still gonna break records. So I feel like people just gonna be mad. Like, people are just gonna be mad and just talking shit. And if it gets like clicks and views, then fine. I mean, clicks and views are cool. If I wanted clicks and views, I would just shit talk Blackpink all day. Or shit talk Big Bang all day. So I guess if that's the goal, then I guess that's just what I should do. You know? If we're just at that point now, like, what the fuck are we talking about? God damn. Fuck.